joined today by Representative Rick Krajewski. You sponsored a bill to create a Right to Counsel program and the Tenant Right to Counsel Task Force. What are the goals for these programs?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Right to Counsel program that we put out was modeled by an existing program in the city of Philadelphia. So there are only 17 cities nationally that have a Right to Counsel program that the aim of which is to provide free legal representation for low-income, vulnerable tenants. So as we know, evictions are often the most vulnerable and honestly traumatic experience in someone's life as a tenant. And a lot of times they have no legal representation during that process to help ease them through the process of an eviction, and honestly, in some situations, actually prevent the eviction through mediation with the landlord. And so this program was created in Philadelphia in 2019. It's been extremely successful at supporting tenants who are going through eviction proceedings, potentially avoiding evictions where possible, and just honestly leveling the playing field when it comes to legal representation. It's statistically shown that in eviction proceedings, landlords have legal representation in over 80% of those cases, whereas tenants only have representation in 3%. So that inherently creates a dynamic where you just have a power dynamic where the tenant is not equipped to best facilitate their own defense during an eviction. And the courts need that kind of voice to be able to, again, reach a mediation that could hopefully avoid an eviction where possible. So we've seen this happen in Philadelphia in a really exciting way with the city program. And so when the governor proposed an investment of $5 million to try to create a statewide program, we just jumped right in the saddle to work with his administration and our caucus in trying to get those dollars across the finish line. What
inspired you to create this legislation?
Yeah, so housing is a very important issue for me, both as a person and a legislator. So my district includes the neighborhoods of West and Southwest Philadelphia. It is a traditionally working class, Black, brown immigrant neighborhood, but also with a lot of young professionals and young folks that are in the service sector. So it's a very diverse neighborhood, but it is, as many parts of the city and state are dealing with, it is dealing with the issues of rising rent costs, gentrification, housing displacement. And so I've been really thrilled to see our city council in Philadelphia put a lot of programs in to help alleviate some of those pressures through the Right to Counsel program, the Eviction Diversion program, which was just made permanent, putting money towards affordable housing development, prioritizing housing repairs for existing housing. And we've seen this change in a positive way the ability for renters and homeowners alike to be able to stay in their homes, which we know prevents all other kinds of destabilizing factors in our communities. So it's very important to me as someone who loves the neighborhood that I live in, who wants to see my neighbors be able to stay in their homes, who wants to be able to see people be able to afford a home long term in this neighborhood. And also as a legislator, I think housing is one of the most important issues for our working class constituents. So I just saw this as an opportunity to work on something that would be personally and professionally pretty gratifying.
You mentioned earlier about Governor Shapiro's administration having an interest in, this concept, and he included $2.5 million for a statewide Right to Counsel program in the budget. How much of this funding will go towards housing Right to Counsel situations?
Yeah, so that money is earmarked specifically to go towards legal representation for eviction proceedings. So that $2.5 million will be going to legal aid organizations to start to beef up that counsel representation for tenants. So 100% of that money is going to go there, which is great because the reality is, 2.5 is great, and I'm excited to have worked with the governor and the administration to get that money. But studies have shown to have a true statewide Right to Counsel program to meet the needs of our tenants would require an investment of about $25 million. So this is a great start, but we need a lot more money to really address the housing crisis here in Pennsylvania.
Who is eligible to receive this counsel in a housing situation?
Yeah, so these are low-income tenants. They're usually specified by local income guidelines based on a municipality that are currently facing an eviction proceeding. So in Philadelphia, there are particular zip codes that have been identified as some of the highest needs based off of renter and eviction statistics. And so I anticipate that similar statistics will be put in place in other counties and municipalities to determine which low-income tenants are at most need of legal representation.
Now that this program is statewide, what do you hope its impact will be?
Yeah, my hope is that it will continue to push the narrative of good housing policy. I was generally pretty excited about this being one of many housing priorities that the governor had in his budget. Of course, continuing to support the whole home repairs program. He had that in his budget, which has been huge for helping working class homeowners throughout Pennsylvania. Putting more money into homeless assistance. We know there are also people who are housing insecure, who need money to be able to move themselves into a place of housing stability. So there are multiple fronts in which our caucus and the administration has prioritized housing as policy. And it's just exciting because I think it's one of those core things. Housing is a human right. Everyone deserves a right to a healthy, safe, and affordable home. And we as legislators, particularly on the state level, can use the purse strings and public policy to really enshrine that right. And so I just think that this is a great moment to continue to push that agenda. So, we're excited about Right to Counsel, excited about the homeless assistance funding, but this is going to be the start of a lot more things coming out of the state legislature around how we support our struggling homeowners and renters in Pennsylvania, because when we support them, we support our entire community.
We've been speaking with Representative Rick Krajewski. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.